Usually when you hear about a real estate record being completely shattered, your mind instantly goes to a massive, sprawling estate.
Oh, totally. Like, a 30-acre compound in Beverly Hills or something.
Right, exactly. Or maybe a historic, I don't know, multi-century chateau in the south of France.
Yeah, with the gates and the long driveways.
Right, acres of manicured land. But recently, a transaction closed in Tokyo that just completely breaks that mental model.
Yeah, it really does.
We are talking about a single penthouse apartment. It sits at the top of the tower in Azabudai Hills, and it sold for 20 billion yen.
Which is just a mind-boggling number.
It is. That translates to over 130 million US dollars.
For an apartment.
For an apartment. And, Tokyo is obviously a notoriously expensive city, but let's put that number into perspective.
Yeah, the math on this is wild.
Right. So in Japanese real estate, they use a measurement called a tsubo.
Right, which is basically the space of 2 standard tatami mats.
Exactly. So it's roughly 35 square feet. This penthouse sold for well over 40 million yen per tsubo.
Wow.
Yeah, that's over $250,000 for a patch of floor the size of a small walk-in closet.
It's just hard to even visualize that kind of value.
It really is. And here's the kicker, right? The buyer wasn't paying that astronomical premium for the square footage alone.
No, not at all.
Or the neighborhood, or even the spectacular unobstructed views of the Tokyo Tower. What they were actually paying for was the name etched onto the brass plaque by the door.
Right. Aman.
Aman Residences.
It's a staggering figure. And what's fascinating here is that this 20 billion yen transaction, it isn't an anomaly.
Right. It's not just a fluke.
Exactly. It's not a one-off vanity purchase by some billionaire who simply loves Tokyo. It is the loudest, clearest signal yet of a massive structural shift happening in global wealth.
A shift in how people actually interact with property, right?
Yeah, we are watching the very definition of luxury real estate fundamentally mutate. Because, historically, a luxury home was defined by its physical attributes.
Like the Italian marble, the exact location, the famous architect who designed it.
Exactly. But today, it is increasingly defined by the invisible operating system running it.
Which brings us to the core of what we are doing today, because whether you are a real estate investor trying to read the tea leaves of this crazy market,
Or a hospitality professional watching your entire industry just flip upside down.
right, or honestly, if you're just an insanely curious learner who wants to understand how the ultra-wealthy are literally reshaping the skylines of the cities you live in, well, this deep dive is custom tailored for you.
Absolutely.
We are going to unpack a market that is currently generating over $30 billion annually, and it is growing at a breakneck pace. We'll synthesize some cutting-edge reports like data from Accor, Savills, Knight Frank, the Financial Times, Forbes, and the Branded Living 2026 report.
It's a massive stack of data to get through.
It is, but it's so worth it. We are going to explore why traditional hotel brands are suddenly dominant players in the real estate game.
And decode the hidden mechanics of how these mega deals are actually put together.
Yeah, and we'll reveal why buyers are willingly paying massive double-digit premiums just for a logo. We'll look at the titans pulling the strings and ultimately uncover what this means for the future of wealth and lifestyle.
It's going to be a fascinating ride.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why are hotel brands no longer content just running hotels? When did they decide to become real estate behemoths?
So to understand the origin of this, we really have to look at the underlying demographic driver.
The actual tectonic shift in global wealth, right?
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we need to examine the data coming out of the latest Knight Frank Wealth report. They track a very specific demographic known as UHNWIs.
The ultra-high net worth individuals.
Right, and the threshold for that category is a net worth of 100 million US dollars or more.
The $100 million club. I mean, that is a level of wealth where the normal rules of economics essentially just stop applying.
They absolutely do. And that specific population is growing at an unprecedented rate.
Yeah.
According to the Knight Frank data, the global population of these ultra-high net worth individuals recently surged.
And it crossed a pretty massive milestone, right?
Yeah, for the first time in human history, it surpassed 100,000 people.
Wow. 100,000.
Think about the implications of that. 100,000 individuals globally, each possessing over $100 million in deployable capital.
That's just an ocean of money.
It is, and that's just the apex, right?
Yeah.
Right below them, The broader multimillionaire classes are swelling simultaneously.
Which is largely driven by the largest generational wealth transfer we've ever seen.
Exactly. So you have this massive sudden influx of capital. But money alone doesn't change a real estate paradigm.
Right, it's what that money allows these people to do, because when you possess that level of wealth, your relationship to physical geography completely dissolves.
It really does. You aren't tied to a specific city because you need to commute to a corporate headquarters every morning.
Yeah, you become radically, inherently globalized.
And that globalization of the individual was uh, violently accelerated by the post-pandemic lifestyle migration.
Oh, absolutely. The pandemic permanently severed the tether between the executive and the office.
Right. When remote work flexibility, or at least the ability to operate a global business from an iPad on a terrace in Tuscany, became the norm, the demand for second, third, and fourth homes didn't just rise.
It absolutely exploded.
It did. But specifically, it was a demand for what the industry categorizes as lock-up-and-leave turnkey homes.
Right. Because if you are bouncing between London, Dubai, and Tokyo, the absolute last thing you want to deal with is the friction of homeownership.
Well, exactly. You don't want to land after a 14-hour flight and spend your first 3 days arguing with a local contractor about a leaking roof.
Or waiting for a specialty furniture delivery, or interviewing a new security detail because the old one quit.
Nobody wants to deal with that, especially not billionaires. You want to arrive, hand your keys to a valet, drop your bags, and immediately exist in a state of frictionless luxury.
Frictionless luxury, that's the dream. But that desire for fictionless living directly collides with a very real, very stubborn psychological barrier in global real estate.
Yeah, the trust issue.
Right. What's fascinating here is how the trust issue plays out. When we talk about these highly mobile, ultra-wealthy individuals, they aren't just buying penthouses in Manhattan or Mayfair anymore.
No, they are increasingly drawn to emerging markets or transitioning economies.
Right. They want the beachfront villa in Phuket, the high-rise in Bangkok, the compound in Latin America, or the new development in Dubai.
But in those markets, no matter how immense your personal wealth is, there is a profound anxiety regarding the underlying quality of the local real estate ecosystem.
That makes total sense. You could find a breathtaking piece of cliffside land in a developing nation, and the developer promises you the moon.
Oh, they'll promise you everything.
Right, but in the back of your mind, you are thinking, is the foundation actually poured correctly? Is the wiring up to an international fire code?
Exactly. If a hurricane rolls through, will these windows hold?
And more importantly, if I leave this property completely empty for 8 months of the year, will the local property management company actually maintain the infinity pool?
Or will I come back to a mosquito-infested swamp?
Exactly. The trust deficit is the single biggest hurdle for developers in those regions.
It is. And this is the exact moment the luxury hotel brands realized they were sitting on an absolute gold mine.
Because they already have the trust.
Exactly. They realized that their brand identity, the crest of a St. Regis, the tree logo of a Four Seasons, the minimalist font of an Aman, was far more valuable than just selling a night's sleep in a suite.
They realize that their brand acts as an international trust proxy.
A trust proxy, yeah, that's the perfect term for it.
So the logo functions almost like a universal translation device for quality assurance.
Exactly. When a wealthy buyer from London is looking at a blueprint for a high-rise in a rapidly developing Southeast Asian city, they might not know or trust the local developer at all.
Right, the local developer is a complete unknown to them.
But when they see the Mandarin Oriental logo attached to that blueprint, the perceived risk just evaporates.
The brand serves as an ironclad guarantee.
It does. The buyer knows the plumbing will be silent, the security will be invisible but military grade, and the finishes will meet an uncompromising global standard.
And the property will be immaculately preserved, whether they are in residence or halfway across the globe.
Exactly. So this fundamentally reframes what we're looking at.
Yeah, this isn't just a quaint story about hotels deciding they want to offer better room service to long-term guests.
No, this is a massive shift in the actual market structure.
Right. You have local real estate developers who desperately need capital, and they need international prestige to attract these new global billionaires.
And on the other side, you have this exploding population of affluent nomads who desperately need security, asset protection, and ultimate convenience.
So the luxury hotel brand simply stepped into the middle and became the bridge.
It's a perfect alignment of incentives. The developer gets to sell their unit significantly faster and at a much higher price point.
while the buyer gets the ultimate peace of mind and de-risks their investment.
And the brand gets to license its intellectual property and expand its global footprint without necessarily taking on the enormous capital risk of actually building a massive structure from the ground up.
That dynamic is fascinating. But it brings us to a crucial point of clarification, because I know there is a ton of confusion about what exactly someone is buying here.
Oh, there is so much misunderstanding out there.
Let's educate the market for a second. If I see an advertisement for a branded residence, am I just buying a glorified, insanely expensive, long-term hotel room?
No, absolutely not.
Is it basically like a timeshare with a Michelin star restaurant downstairs?
Not at all. That is the most persistent myth in the space, and we really need to dismantle it immediately. A branded residence is a permanent, tangible real estate asset.
Okay, so it's actual real estate.
Yes. Depending on the local jurisdiction's property laws, it is usually sold as a freehold, meaning you hold the deed and own the property outright in perpetuity.
Or in some specific markets, I guess, as a very long-term leasehold.
Right. But it is your home. You can sell it on the open market. You can pass it down to your heirs. You can place it in a trust.
Okay, so it is true, hard real estate ownership. But it's bolted onto this elite hospitality infrastructure.
Exactly.
So how does that actually work on a structural level? Because if the hotel isn't building it, but they are running it, who actually owns what?
So to understand the mechanics, we have to look at the triad logic that underpins almost every single one of these developments.
The triad logic. Break that down for us.
There's a highly complex, legally binding three-party relationship that makes a branded residence possible.
Walk us through this triad. Who is the first player on the board?
The first player is the developer. This is typically a local or regional real estate titan.
Okay.
They're the ones who scout the location, purchase the land, secure the incredibly complex zoning permits, and take on the massive nine-figure financial risk of construction.
So they pour the concrete, they erect the steel, they install the glass.
Exactly. They take all the literal dirt risk.
They're the ones sweating over supply chain delays and construction costs.
Correct. The second player in the triad is the brand. This is Marriott, Accor, Rosewood, Six Senses, whoever.
Right. And what's their actual role if they aren't pouring the concrete?
Well, the brand almost never owns the physical building. What they do is license their name, their intellectual property, and their proprietary service standards to the developer.
But it is vital to understand that they don't just slap a logo on the side of a finished building and walk away.
Oh, definitely not. The brand enforces incredibly strict, non-negotiable design, architectural, and quality standards from day one.
So they are acting as the ultimate ruthless quality control layer over the developer's raw concrete.
Beyond ruthless. I mean, the brand will dictate the flow of the lobby to ensure it feels welcoming but private.
They get that granular.
Oh, yeah. They will mandate the exact height of the ceilings, the specific acoustic soundproofing required between the walls so you never hear your neighbor, and even the speed and silence of the elevators.
Wow. So if a developer tries to cut corners to save a few $1,000,000 on the HVAC system, the brand will intervene.
They will intervene immediately.
Yeah.
Because if that building fails to deliver a transcendent luxury experience, it isn't the local developer who gets roasted in the press.
Right. Nobody knows who the local developer is.
Exactly. It is the brand's global reputation that takes the hit.
That makes the brand incredibly powerful in this dynamic. And who is the third player?
The third player is the operator. Once the building is physically finished and the developer has sold the units, the operator steps in to manage the living, breathing, day-to-day life of the building.
They are the ones running the 24/7 concierge, the twice daily housekeeping, the sommelier services.
Right, the in-residence dining, the spa maintenance, the security apparatus, all of it.
Now, very often, the brand and the operator are the exact same corporate entity, right?
Yes, exactly. So Marriott will license the Ritz-Carlton name to the developer, and then Marriott's luxury management arm will act as the operator.
So you buy the physical box from the developer, but you spend the rest of your life living with the operator.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Which leads me to a very practical question. All of this frictionless service, the sommeliers, the invisible security, the pristine lobbies, none of that is free.
Definitely not.
How does the math work for the buyer once they've actually moved in?
Well, it is exceptionally expensive. This is the fundamental, unavoidable trade-off of branded living.
Okay, so how much are we talking about?
As a buyer, you will be paying ongoing management and service fees that are substantially higher than the homeowner association fees you would pay in a standard non-branded luxury condominium.
Because you are essentially subsidizing the massive staffing levels required to deliver five-star white glove hotel service to a residential building.
Right, and a residential building usually has far fewer units than a standard hotel, so the cost per resident is huge.
But the buyers clearly don't care because they're willingly outsourcing the friction of their daily existence.
Exactly. They're buying time and peace of mind.
But there's another layer of control the brand exerts that really caught my eye in the Savills report.
The furniture aspect.
Yes, it has to do with the furniture. If I'm buying a $10 million apartment, I naturally assume I can decorate it however I want, right?
Well, if you intend to live in the property full-time, 365 days a year, yes. You generally have the freedom to hire your own interior designer and furnish it to your specific tastes.
Okay, so that makes sense. But what if I don't live there full time?
Right. So, however, one of the massive appeals of these properties is that when you are not using them, which for these highly mobile buyers might be 8 months out of the year, you can place your residence into the brand's official rental program.
So the operator will rent your home out to transient luxury travelers, treating it exactly like hotel inventory, and you share in the revenue.
Yes.
Which sounds like a brilliant way to offset those exorbitant management fees we just talked about.
It is a brilliant financial mechanism. But here is the catch, and it's a major one.
Okay, lay it on me.
If you want to put your home into that branded rental pool, you cannot just furnish it with whatever you happen to like.
What do you mean?
You are contractually obligated to purchase the brand-approved, highly standardized furniture package.
Let me stop you right there because this is wild.
I know it surprises a lot of people.
If I just drop $10 million on a penthouse, I can't just go to a high-end boutique in Milan, buy a bunch of incredible avant-garde pieces, and then put my unit up for rent.
Absolutely not.
Why not? It's my apartment.
Think about the brand's promise to the traveler. If a guest is paying $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000 a night to stay at a Four Seasons residence, they are expecting a highly specific, curated aesthetic and ergonomic experience.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they expect the exact Four Seasons mattress, the specific thread count of the Egyptian cotton sheets,
The precise layout of the living room designed for optimal flow.
right down to the specific brand of German espresso machine in the kitchen.
Right, because if I'm that guest and I walk into a Four Seasons suite and the owner has decorated it with a neon pink velvet sofa, a bizarre shag carpet, and cheap particle board nightstands to maximize their rental margins.
The illusion of luxury is completely shattered. The brand's promise is broken.
The brand enforces absolute dictatorial aesthetic consistency.
They have to. The furniture package is non-negotiable if you want to access their global distribution network of wealthy travelers.
So it is a strict quality control mechanism designed to protect the brand's reputation.
Yes, and by extension, it protects the underlying asset value of every single other owner in that building.
It's a fascinating control mechanism, and it really forces us to graduate our understanding of this market.
How so?
Well, this isn't just a hotel with a kitchen. These are highly complex, multi-stakeholder real estate vehicles where the brand is the literal operational framework of the building.
Exactly.
And that framework is exactly what justifies the most mind-bending part of this entire trend, the price premium.
Oh, the premium is where the true financial logic of this market reveals itself.
Let's get into the hard numbers here, because this is where it gets really interesting.
The numbers are staggering.
According to the data aggregated in the Branded Living 2026 guide and the Savills International Development Consultancy, buyers are paying an average global premium of 30% for a branded residence over a comparable, non-branded luxury property.
And we must emphasize 30% is just the global average.
Right. If you drill down into emerging markets or massive resort destinations, places like Bangkok, Phuket, or certain high-growth areas in the Middle East, that premium frequently jumps to 45 or even 50%.
It's massive.
So make that make sense for me. Why on earth would a smart, highly successful, ultra-wealthy investor pay 50% more for the exact same square footage, the exact same view, the exact same physical location, purely because it has a Ritz-Carlton or an Aman logo on it?
It sounds irrational at first glance.
It does. If we are talking about a $10 million baseline property, a 50% premium is an extra $5 million. That's not a rounding error. That is massive capital.
It is massive capital, but the error is looking at that extra $5 million as paying for physical bricks and mortar.
Okay, so what are they paying for?
It isn't vanity pricing, and it isn't irrational exuberance. It is a trust premium. And the buyers view that premium as a highly calculated financial tool.
How does a logo function as a financial tool?
Let's break it down by this specific type of market because the logic shifts.
Okay, let's start with emerging markets.
Right. So in those emerging markets you mentioned, say a rapidly growing coastal city in Southeast Asia, that 50% premium guarantees absolute asset protection.
Going back to the trust issue we discussed earlier.
Exactly. A wealthy buyer is paying that extra $5 million to ensure their core $10 million investment doesn't literally crumble or become unlivable in 5 years due to poor local maintenance.
Or corrupt local contractors or a failing homeowners association that can't afford to fix the elevators?
Right. The brand operates as a multi-million-dollar insurance policy on the asset's long-term viability.
Okay, that logic holds up for an emerging market where the baseline quality is questionable.
Sure.
But what about global, highly regulated cities? The data shows a 20 to 30% premium in places like New York, London, or Miami.
Yes, it does.
In New York, the building codes are incredibly strict. There are hundreds of phenomenal non-branded luxury buildings with doormen, private gyms, and immaculate maintenance. Why pay a 30% premium there?
Well, in an established global wealth hub, the premium transitions from basic asset protection to extreme time preservation and unparalleled service infrastructure.
Time preserving.
Yes. For a billionaire living in New York or London, time is their absolute most constrained and valuable asset.
That makes sense.
The branded residence offers a concierge lifestyle infrastructure that is nearly impossible to replicate, even in an ultra-high-end independent building.
So they are buying the ability to have a Michelin-trained private chef arranged at 2 a.m.,
Exactly.
the ability to have their dry cleaning, their complex international travel, their spa appointments, and their dinner reservations flawlessly managed by a team that has been trained to rigorous global hospitality standards.
They're permanently attaching a luxury hotel ecosystem to their private life.
Precisely. But beyond the service, there are hard, undeniable economics that justify the premium as an investment.
Oh, absolutely. First and foremost is resale liquidity.
Because real estate, by its very nature, is a highly illiquid asset class.
It takes months, sometimes years, to sell an ultra-luxury property.
But the Branded Living 2026 report highlights a crucial metric here. Branded units sell, on average, 25% faster than comparable non-branded properties.
25% faster.
That's huge because the buyer pool on the secondary market doesn't have to guess what they're walking into.
Exactly. If I see resale listing for a banyan tree residence in Manila or a Mandarin Oriental in Boston, I immediately understand the baseline quality.
You don't need to fly an inspector out there to check the baseboards and the HVAC system.
No, because the brand has already performed that diligence for me continuously for the life of the building.
The brand creates a highly liquid secondary market for a traditionally slow-moving asset class.
It provides absolute global consistency.
Right. An Aman owner in Tokyo knows that if they buy another Aman residence in New York or an Aman villa in the Peloponnese, they will receive the exact same standard of extreme privacy, architectural ethos, and intuitive service.
And that standardization aggressively reduces the friction of the transaction.
And then there is the yield. We touched on the rental programs with the furniture packages earlier, but the actual revenue data here is staggering.
It really is.
Because when the owner's away, and remember, these are often second, third, or even fifth homes for this demographic, the operator seamlessly transitions that residence into the hotel's premium rental inventory.
Right. And because the property has the brand name attached, it commands the absolute highest possible nightly rates in that market.
The data consistently shows these rental programs can generate 4 to 8% annual rental yields for the owner.
Let's run that math because it's impressive.
Okay, let's do it. 4 to 8% on a $10 million property is $400,000 to $800,000 a year in passive income.
Which is massive.
That massive cash flow more than covers those exorbitant management fees we were wringing our hands over earlier.
Oh, it covers the property taxes, the insurance, the maintenance.
That asset essentially pays for its own world-class upkeep.
Exactly. The brand serves as a dynamic financial instrument.
It protects the asset's core value during local market downturns.
It significantly accelerates liquidity on the secondary resale market.
And it generates premium yield while the owner isn't even in the country.
When you evaluate the total life cycle of the investment, the 30% upfront premium stops looking like a frivolous extravagance.
It reveals itself to be a highly calculated, risk-adjusted wealth management strategy.
It's actually brilliant.
You aren't just buying real estate. You are purchasing a comprehensive infrastructure of living.
A built-in community, a military-grade security apparatus, and a high-yield generating machine.
All wrapped in a spectacular architectural package. So, if this model is this lucrative for the developer, the brand, and the buyer who is actually building this system,
That's the $30 billion question.
who are the titans pulling the strings in this arena?
The landscape is vast, and it is expanding at a frankly aggressive pace. According to the tracking data from Savills, there are currently over 700 branded residence projects completed and operational globally.
But the pipeline is what is truly shocking.
It is. They project that number will exceed 1,100 projects by 2027.
That is explosive. They are nearly doubling the global supply in a matter of a few years. Over 1,100 projects globally.
Yeah, let's survey the heavyweights dominating this space.
When I look at the data, Marriott seems to be the undisputed champion of the market.
They are. Marriott International, which was heavily bolstered by their acquisition of Starwood Hotels several years ago, retains the absolute top spot.
And within their massive portfolio, the Ritz-Carlton is an absolute juggernaut.
Oh, without a doubt. But what is truly fascinating about the Ritz-Carlton's current strategy is their massive pivot toward what the industry categorizes as standalone projects.
Right, standalone, meaning there is no hotel attached whatsoever.
Exactly. It is purely a private residential building that operates under the Ritz-Carlton brand and management.
The Savills report noted that standalone developments now represent more than 1/3 of the Ritz-Carlton's entire global pipeline. Why the massive shift away from the traditional model where you put condos on top of a hotel?
Because the ultra-wealthy buyer is increasingly demanding ultimate exclusivity. In a co-located scheme where the residences sit above a 200-room hotel, you are inevitably sharing the grand lobby, the fitness center, the spa, and the valet lines with transient hotel guests.
Right, and if you're paying $10 million, you might not want to wait in line behind a tourist.
Exactly. But a standalone Ritz-Carlton residence means every single person walking through those doors is an owner or their vetted guest.
It is a completely hermetic, private ecosystem.
And from the developer side, the economics are cleaner.
How so?
They don't have to underwrite or manage the operational risk of running a massive hotel. They just build the luxury residences, sell them at a huge premium, and hand the keys to Ritz-Carlton to manage the homeowners.
It's a much leaner, more exclusive business model. So Marriott and Ritz-Carlton dominate the traditional white-glove luxury space. But then you have Accor, which is making massive, disruptive moves across the board.
Accor is aggressively vying for global leadership, expecting their branded residence portfolio to essentially triple over the next 5 years.
Triple. Wow.
Yeah, but their strategic approach is distinct. While they certainly possess classic, ultra-luxury heritage brands like Raffles and Fairmont, the latter of which has been doing this successfully for over 2 decades, Accor is heavily pushing their lifestyle brands.
Yes, driven largely by their partnership with Ennismore. We are talking about brands like Mondrian, Esso, and SLS.
Lifestyle brands represent the fastest-growing subcategory in the hospitality sector today.
Who is the target demographic for those?
They are targeting a slightly younger, heavily entrepreneurial, but still extremely wealthy demographic.
Okay, so different flavor of wealth.
Right. These are buyers who might walk into a traditional St. Regis or Ritz-Carlton and find the atmosphere a bit too stuffy, a bit too formal or archaic.
They are looking for highly design-led brands with distinct, vibrant personalities.
Yes, they prioritize boundary-pushing creativity, contemporary art curation, and compelling high-energy food and beverage culture over quiet, classical luxury.
It's the stark difference between a buyer who wants a classical string quartet playing softly in a marble lobby versus a buyer who wants an internationally renowned DJ curating the soundscape of their rooftop infinity pool while they sip artisanal mezcal.
That is the perfect way to contrast them. Accor is essentially building the infrastructure to capture both ends of that wealth spectrum.
And then, at the absolute apex of the market, you have the ultra-luxury tier. This is the domain of brands like Four Seasons and Aman.
Four Seasons is legendary in this space. They practically invented the modern iteration of it and have over 85 projects globally.
But Aman is really operating in a stratosphere of its own, aren't they? We started this deep dive talking about their $130 million Tokyo penthouse.
Aman is the industry definition of extreme, unyielding exclusivity.
How so?
Well, while a Marriott or an Accor development might feature hundreds of units in a massive tower, Aman projects rarely, if ever, exceed 30 or 40 units globally.
30 units in the whole building.
Yeah. They are deliberately cultivating an almost cult-like following among global billionaires, often referred to as Emin junkies.
Women junkies, that's a real term.
Oh, it's very real. Their entire philosophy is focused on extreme privacy, vast, almost incomprehensible amounts of space,
Hmm.
and a highly curated monastic aesthetic.
They aren't trying to capture market volume. They are precision targeting the absolute pinnacle of global wealth.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have the established titans, Marriott, Accor, Four Seasons, Aman, but here is where the landscape gets truly wild and where the market starts to look a bit speculative.
The non-hotel contenders.
Yes, the wild cards. I'm looking at real estate projects branded by Porsche, Aston Martin, Armani, Bulgari, Fendi.
It is a rapidly expanding segment. Fashion houses and luxury automotive brands have looked at the premiums being achieved by the hotel brands and realized the immense untapped value of extending their own brand identity into the physical, built environment.
But this raises a massive debate, and it is honestly one of the most entertaining controversies in the industry right now. The Financial Times piece touched on this dynamic beautifully.
It's a very heated debate.
You have major developers like Nick Candy, who built One Hyde Park in London, arguably one of the most famous and successful branded residences in history, and he is fiercely critical of these non-hotel brands entering the space.
He is. He argues that without a deep historical hospitality background to provide actual operational service, a fashion-branded building is essentially a fake designer bag.
A fake designer bag, that is brutal.
It is, but it's a highly valid structural critique. Think about it logically.
Okay.
If you buy a unit in a Porsche design tower, there is no doubt that Porsche is exceptional at engineering high-performance automobiles. Their aesthetic is sleek.
Sure, they make great cars.
But do they know how to train a concierge desk to intuitively anticipate the needs of a billionaire?
Do they have the institutional knowledge to manage a complex 24/7 in-residence dining operation?
Or seamlessly run a global rental pool? The fundamental hospitality DNA is completely missing.
So how do these automotive and fashion brands even survive in this space? If they don't know how to run a hotel, how do they deliver the substance the buyers are paying for?
Well, the workaround is that they partner with incredibly experienced, often white-label property management firms who handle the invisible day-to-day operations.
Ah, okay. So there's a hidden operator.
Right. While the brand itself strictly controls the design, the architecture, and the overarching aesthetic narrative.
So for a buyer of an Armani residence, the appeal isn't necessarily the concierge. The appeal is literally living inside the mind of Giorgio Armani.
Exactly. Every fabric choice, every sightline, every piece of custom furniture is dictated by that fashion house. It is about total aesthetic immersion.
But Nick Candy's critique still stands. The long-term value proposition of the service layer in those buildings is far less proven than it is with a heritage brand like a Four Seasons.
It's a huge gamble, for sure.
Yet, despite the vast differences between the monastic minimalism of an Aman, the high-energy lifestyle of an Accor Mondrian, and the aesthetic immersion of an Aston Martin tower, there is a unified goal here.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, all of these vastly different entities are actually attempting to do the exact same thing.
And what is that underlying goal?
They are evolving from whatever they originally were, hospitality providers, car manufacturers, fashion houses, into a real estate operating system.
A real estate operating system. Think about your smartphone. The hardware of the phone is just glass, silicon, and metal. Any manufacturer can make that.
Right.
What actually gives it value, what makes it function and integrates it into your life is whether it runs on Apple's iOS or Google's Android.
That analogy perfectly captures the structural reality of the market.
The developer's just building the hardware, the concrete, the glass, the steel. The brand provides the operating system.
These massive towers now run on Accor One Living or Ritz-Carlton Management or the Aman Service Philosophy.
And just like we as consumers get deeply locked into the Apple ecosystem because all of our devices talk to each other flawlessly and the service is seamless, the ultra-wealthy are getting permanently locked into these luxury real estate operating systems.
That analogy holds up flawlessly, especially when you look at the macro implications of this entire trend.
Which is exactly where we need to take this conversation next. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? How does this alter the future of cities and the fundamental nature of property?
This is the ultimate upgrade perspective.
If branded residences continue this explosive trajectory, if the operating system officially becomes more important and more valuable than the hardware itself, how does that rewrite the fundamental rules of real estate?
It completely upends the oldest rule in the book. Historically, the golden, unbreakable rule of real estate has always been Location, location, location.
Right. The financial value and the desirability of a property were almost entirely dictated by its physical, geographic coordinates.
Is it in Mayfair? Is it on the Upper East Side, facing Central Park? Is it beachfront in Malibu?
The specific neighborhood was the defining characteristic of the asset. The geography was the value.
But we are witnessing a profound, irreversible shift. Property is no longer just about location. It is increasingly about brand, brand, brand.
A building's identity, its culture, its service level, and ultimately its financial value on the open market are being defined less by the neighborhood it sits in and more by the operating system it runs on.
This means that cities themselves are no longer the exclusive unit of value.
That is a wild thought.
It is. Because of the global consistency these brands offer, the fundamental unit of value is shifting from the municipality to the corporation.
The buyer isn't just buying into the real estate market of Miami or Tokyo or Dubai. They're buying into the Aman ecosystem or the Six Senses network or the Ritz-Carlton global portfolio.
The brand actually supersedes the geography. If you're a high net worth buyer, you know exactly what the Six Senses experience is, whether that specific building is placed in a historic cobblestone district in London or on a remote, untouched beach in the Caribbean.
The brand becomes its own sovereign territory of luxury, independent of the city outside its doors.
That is a staggering concept. We are looking at real estate as a brand asset.
And we are seeing this evolution push aggressively into entirely new, highly intimate territories, well beyond just having nice sheets, a good concierge, and a high-end spa.
Oh, completely.
The insights from Forbes and the Financial Times pointed out a massive, rapid shift toward wellness and longevity.
Yes. The Forbes piece made a very astute observation about human psychology. Humans adapt quickly.
What feels extraordinary on day one, a 24-hour concierge, a beautiful spa, a valet, eventually becomes normal. It becomes table stakes.
The industry realizes that hospitality-led branding alone is starting to lose its absolute novelty.
Right.
So they have to ask, what is the next frontier of value?
What is the one thing a billionaire wants more than anything else?
It is longevity, it is health, it is more time.
Right. It's moving past the superficial aesthetics of luxury. You can only buy so many book-matched Italian marble countertops or custom chandeliers before it gets boring.
But you can always invest more capital into extending your own lifespan.
Exactly. And because of that, we are seeing intensely purpose-driven brands enter the branded residence space.
Look at brands like SHA, which are globally renowned for their intense medical-grade wellness and longevity clinics in Spain and Mexico.
They are now building permanent branded residences, right?
Yes. And these aren't just luxury condos with a slightly nicer gym and a eucalyptus steam room.
No, these are residential buildings deeply integrated with longevity clinics, biohacking labs, hyperbaric oxygen therapy chambers, and preventative medicine doctors on staff full-time for the residents.
The brand is no longer just managing the buyer's real estate or making sure their dinner reservations at Nobu are secure.
The brand is actively managing the buyer's cellular health, their vitality, their actual biological lifespan.
You are buying into a community whose shared operating system is the literal extension of human life.
And this brings us to the ultimate conclusion, the central defining thesis of this entire deep dive.
Yeah, when you synthesize the wealth data from Knight Frank, the premium analysis from Savills, the aggressive expansion strategies of Accor and Marriott, and this shift toward holistic biological life management, you realize what is truly happening at a macro level.
So what does this all mean? What is the final takeaway here?
The lifestyle itself, the community you interact with, the wellness protocols you follow, the service standards you expect, the aesthetic affiliation you project, has been meticulously quantified, packaged, and monetized. We are witnessing the financialization of lifestyle.
The financialization of lifestyle, that actually gives me chills.
It's a profound thought.
Your personal taste, your desire for physical security, your intimate health routines, your fundamental need for community, all of these intangible, messy, deeply human things have been engineered by corporations into an investable asset class.
That is precisely what a branded residence is at its core. It is not just an apartment.
No, it is a highly sophisticated financial vehicle that allows ultra-high net worth individuals to invest directly into a curated lifestyle ecosystem, with the luxury brand acting as the ultimate guarantor of both the daily experience and the long-term financial return.
Wow. Okay, we have covered an immense amount of ground today.
We really have. Let's briefly recap this journey for everyone listening. We started by looking at the demographic explosion of global wealth, the historic rise of the 100,000 ultra-high net worth individuals who require frictionless, secure, truly global living.
We broke down the triad structure that makes these mega buildings possible. The developer taking the massive physical risk, the brand ruthlessly enforcing the quality and aesthetic standards, and the operator delivering the day-to-day service.
We then examined the hard financial logic behind those massive 30 to 50% price premiums. We saw how the brand functions as a trust proxy, providing vital asset protection in emerging markets.
And accelerating resale liquidity globally, and generating massive rental yields through standardized furniture packages and global distribution networks.
We surveyed the titans of the industry, from Ritz-Carlton's shift toward exclusive standalone towers to Aman's ultra-exclusive monastic enclaves.
And we explored the Nick Candy critique of fashion brands trying to play the hospitality game.
We saw how all of them are essentially becoming real estate operating systems. And finally, we arrived at this massive macro realization that real estate is shifting away from geography and toward brand.
Culminating in the complete financialization of lifestyle itself.
It is a remarkable, unprecedented evolution of the built environment. So as we wrap up, I want you to do something. The next time you are walking through your own neighborhood or looking at the skyline of your next travel destination, take a closer look.
Can you spot the creeping influence of branded living?
Can you see where the glowing corporate logos are starting to replace the organic local character of the city? Because this $30 billion market is not slowing down.
No, it is actively, permanently rewriting the rules of the cities we live in.
And as you observe that skyline changing, I want to leave you with a lingering, perhaps slightly unsettling question to ponder on your own.
We've seen how these brands optimize absolutely everything. The furniture in the living room, the speed of the service, the resale value of the unit, and now even the residents' biological health and longevity.
But if our homes, our furniture choices, our communities, and our most intimate wellness routines are increasingly dictated by corporate luxury algorithms designed specifically to preserve asset value,
At what point do we stop owning the brand and the brand starts owning us?
where exactly does true, messy, spontaneous human individuality fit into a perfectly curated, perfectly monetized, branded life?
That is a phenomenal question to end on.
Because the penthouse at Aman, Tokyo might cost a record-breaking 20 billion yen, but the true long-term cost of outsourcing your entire lifestyle to a corporate operating system is something we are only just beginning to understand.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We hope this has upgraded your understanding of the modern luxury economy. Keep exploring, keep questioning the world around you, and as always, keep learning.